key to cutting up any fish, you've got to have sharp knives. As I said before, you've invested all this money in your car and your boat and your time. Invest a little bit of money in a couple of decent knives and a decent steel just to keep them nice and sharp. So, knife, similar to a bread knife, very handy for cutting up tuna because it can make it easier to cut through the skin, but also makes knocking the head and knocking the tail off very easy. So the first step he's going to take here, he's got the tuna with its back facing to him, and he's just going to make a cut behind the gill plate, down to the backbone, and down to just behind the two front fins. Flipping the fish over, then makes the same cut on the other side, cutting around the gill plates, down to those two fins again, down to the backbone, and then just finish the cut to remove the head. Now, whether you're cutting up a tuna of this size or something up around the 50 kilo mark or even bigger, Pete will show you a trick that makes things very easy, is to cut the fish up in quarters rather than try and take that whole side off and then worry about cutting it up. You do it in 4 pieces, make it a lot easier to handle. So the first cut you can see there just goes along the top loin, straight down the middle of the fish, and you just want to cut down until you feel your knife run along the backbone there. You can either cut the tail off or make a small cut in the tail. And then you just take the knife and you're running it along, just follow the fins, follow the backbone along from the back of the fish up towards the front. Just making a small incision at first, and then basically just following that incision. You can just do it an inch at a time, just until your knife is again connected with the backbone. There you can see one perfect tuna quarter. Just hold that. Hold the fish up just to show. So you can see how close that's got to the bone there. The next step, keeping the fish still facing you the same way.
I'll just do it like this to show you guys.
So again, just running your knife along the backbone. Just making small incisions. There's no need to go at it a bullet a gate. Just take it easy, and if you need to do it in 3 or 4 or even more cuts, so be it. Just finishing those cuts now, running the knife along the skeleton, just using that as your guide, and through the rib cage, leaving the ribs attached to that fillet of the tuna. Now when it comes to taking the ribs out of the bluefin, they are a bit tricky. First thing he's going to do there is just knock off that last bit of the backbone, and that also takes out a fair whack of the bloodline. Now just cutting in at the top of the rib cage there, just taking the knife down towards the bottom of the fillet, and again just using the bones as a guide for your knife. If you just keep running your knife along those bones, then you know you're going to be on the right track. Trimming off any excess bits of bone or blood along the way. Now, keeping the fish laid on the board the same way, you want to again start your cut at the back of the fish, just below the fins, and run your knife just along the skeleton there up towards the top of the fish. Again, doing it in a number of cuts, just going an inch at a time in towards the backbone. Now you can probably see that he's really not putting not putting too much effort into the knife. He's letting the knife do the work. As I was saying before, that you must have a really sharp knife if you're going to cut fish and if you're going to do it properly. So he's just running his knife along those bones, just keeping the knife nice and flat. Just doing it a few inches at a time. There's what you're left with.